Yo, I got a serious question for you. If you were going to start a superhero group, who would you want to be your leader? Either Batman or Wolverine? You better leave your answer in the comments below. Me? I'd pick Wolverine. Yo, what's up, comic book reading universe? It is I, your friendly neighborhood comic book reviewer, Steven Savelli, once again representing hashtag nerd swag, and I am here today to bring to you the staple stash for comics that were released on June 25th, 2014. Today, I have 10 comics to review for you guys. I have 3 from Image Comics, I have 3 from DC Comics, and I have 4 from Marvel comics. Just as a reminder, down below in the description on the YouTube video, there are timestamps, and what those do is you go down, you click on the number that's near a comic book title, and then skips you ahead. So I know some of these reviews are lengthy, and if you want to go right to the books that you read, then go ahead, go down there, click on the timestamp, and it'll skip you ahead. If not, and you're in with me for the whole show, thank you. I really appreciate your support, and I always love you guys watching. And leave a comment down below if you disagree with anything I say, if you like what I say, if there's any books I missed this week, if I made a stupid opinion, whatever you want, comment down below. And always upvote us if you can, and subscribe to the channel. Anyways, so let's kick this off, guys. The first books I'm going to review are actually Image, and the first Image comic I'm going to review is Outcast #1. This is written by Robert Kirkman, and the art on this is by Paul Azaceta. So Outcast #1, it's called A Darkness Surrounds Him. That's what the issue's titled, and this is a double-sized issue. It's about 45 pages. And for you guys that don't know Robert Kirkman, if you're into comic books, you're living in a hole. He's the creator of The Walking Dead and Invincible, and he's done some other stuff here and there, but those are his 2 main comics. And here is his next main giant book. I was reading the letter pages in the back of this, and Robert Kirkman said that this book was actually ordered more by comic book shops than his latest Walking Dead comic. And we all know Walking Dead usually sells in the top 10 of all comics each month, and this was ordered more than his latest Walking Dead. So we can expect Outlast to be pretty big. So what Outlast is about exorcisms and demonic possession. We have our main character here. His name's Kyle, and we find out a little bit about him and how he is connected to a reverend that does exorcisms. So we start off on the second page of the book with this kid that bites his finger off. He bites his own finger off, and the reverend is sent to his house to perform an exorcism. And the main character, Kyle, has had 2 times in his life interactions with someone who was possessed by a demon, and the reverend goes to Kyle to get help because our main protagonist, Kyle, who's here on the cover, apparently has thwarted these demons each time he's run into them, and the reverend can't do it himself. The reverend's trying to pour holy water on the kid, and just super interesting, and Kyle really comes to support that. Kyle, since he's dealt with some of these demonic possessions, he is kind of a loner. His house is dirty. It's got cockroaches in it. He doesn't like interacting with other people because he thinks that like demons are after him. I really highly recommend this book. I don't want to say too much more, but it's $2.99. It's written by Robert Kirkman, who's written one of the most famous comic books of all time, The Walking Dead. It has great art. As you see, I'm showing the art as I'm talking about it, and the writing is just fantastic. So I highly recommend this book. I'm going to give the writing on Outcast a 9.8 out of 10. I would give it a perfect score, except I do have a perfect score to give away today in my comic book reviews, and this was not as good as that. So a 9.8 on the writing, and I would give it 9.5 on the art. The art does basically look like The Walking Dead except colored, so that's really cool. This is definitely a hashtag nerd swag recommend of the week for sure, so check out Outcast. The next book I'm going to review for you guys is C.O.W.L. Issue #2. This is written by Kyle Higgins and Alec Siegel with art by Rod Reese. Now, C.O.W.L, if you didn't see me review number 1, stands for the Chicago Organized Workers League, and they're a workers union for superheroes, which is pretty damn cool of an idea. And they work for the city of Chicago, obviously, Chicago Organized Workers League. But they're a union that works for the city, just like a police department or fire department. They're a department that helps keep the city safe. And in this issue, we don't get too much happening. This is really a setup issue. This is going over the history of what's happened with C.O.W.L. One of our characters in the last issue found some secret folders that really show that somebody within C.O.W.L is probably funding the enemy, Skylancer. So some interesting stuff going on, but not too much to say about this issue, actually. All we get is we get a lot of dialogue, we get just a little bit of action, and this is more history and universe building of a book. Issue 1 really threw us into action from the first page. This was, okay, we gave you action, you guys are hooked to this book now. Now let's pull back a little bit. Let's tell you about the universe that C.O.W.L is set in, and let's give the characters a little more character depth. We see a little character arc in this issue where one of our characters goes from being kind of a wussy to being pretty bold and courageous, but it was a stupid idea. Anyway, I'm going to give the writing on C.O.W.L number 2 an 8 out of 10, and I'm going to give the art a 9 out of 10. Rod Reese kills it on this book, and this is yet another Image book that is absolutely fantastic. Maybe I'm just reading their good books, but there's like 6 or 7 books from Image right now that I would stack like almost head and shoulders above all of their books, except for a few that are out there. So, all right, and the last Image book I'm going to review for you guys today is Deadly Class. This is issue number 6. What we find here is our main protagonist, Marcus. Right at the end of last issue, number 5, he was getting his head beaten in, and he basically looked like he was going to die. And because he was possibly going to hook up with Chico's girlfriend, I think her name is Maria, and he walked in on Marcus trying to hook up with this girl. He beats him up. Marcus was on an acid trip. He didn't really even know what he was doing. Oh, yeah, FYI. This is a mature comic. Very mature. Lots of swearing, lots of drugs, lots of all that. But so last issue, we think Marcus is dying. Like the panels actually fade to black on the last page, and this starts up with him still getting beat up. And this whole issue is a closure to the first story arc of Deadly Class. So we get some closure on what happened with Marcus. We get some closure with what happened with Chico. We get closure with, not a closure, more of a beginning of, there's been a character that's kind of been like hiding in the shadows since issue 1 of Deadly Class, and that character finally reveals themselves and actually interacts with our main group of characters. There's not too much I can say about this that wouldn't give too much away if you're reading Deadly Class. Here's what I can say. If you're not reading Deadly Class and you are grown enough to be able to take a mature content, you need to go back and buy issue 1 all the way through 6. This is the issue that I'm going to give a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 on writing, 10 out of 10 on art. The storytelling in Deadly Class number 6 is absolutely amazing. I actually could say you can go to a comic book shop if you don't want to buy all the comics, just pick this up and you could read this, just issue 6 on its own, and you could still feel how outstanding the storytelling is. Fantastic dialogue. Each character is their own character, and they're not a one-dimensional character. They have multiple dimensions here. We have a character, Willie, who has a big front. He's a tough guy, but he's not, and he has a decision where he can shoot someone in the face. The guy basically grabs the gun and like puts it in his hands like, shoot me, and Willie makes a choice. And there's just so much social dynamic in this book. It's just absolutely amazing. Like I said, I'm gonna give the writing on this a 10 out of 10 and the art a 10 out of 10. This is my number 1 recommend of the week. There's no doubt about it. Rick Remender is the writer, and Wes Craig is the artist. Oh, so good. Anyway, that's the last book for Image this week. The next book I'm going to review is Hulk. Oh, actually, not Hulk. I'm going to move on to Marvel Comics. So for Marvel Comics, now here we go. The first issue for Marvel Comics I'm going to review is Hulk versus Iron Man. This is Original Sin tie-in. This is Hulk vs. Iron Man #1, but it's Original Sin 3.1. I think there might be 5 issues of this. That'll be 3.1, 3.2, 3, 4, 5. This is written by Mark Waid, who was writing the Indestructible Hulk. And it's also written by Kieron Gillen, who is writing Iron Man. So Hulk vs. Iron Man is written by the actual writers that are writing Hulk and Iron Man. So kudos to Marvel for not throwing a random team on this. But maybe that was to the detriment of this book. I didn't care for Hulk vs. Iron Man #1. I love the idea of Original Sin. It's the best event I've read in a long time. And it really comes through. So the thing about this book is I knew what the Original Sin was going to be. Not because I read a spoiler, not because I read solicitations, but because it made sense. And maybe... Sorry, I dropped my... Whoa, I dropped my book. Maybe other people couldn't see it so clearly that were reading Original Sin, but on just the first page of reading this, I knew what the last page was going to be, and I felt like they could have told the story in half to a quarter of the pages. That being said, they give a little background about what the Original Sin was, and really it was something that Tony Stark did to Bruce Banner, not the other way around. So what's weird about the Original Sin is when the orb flashed the Watcher's eye, everyone saw a secret about themselves. Well, Tony didn't see a secret about himself. He kind of saw a secret about Bruce that he did to Bruce. I don't get how that works because everyone else saw something that impacted their lives. Tony kind of saw something that impacted someone else's life. It's a stretch. I'll say that. But the cliffhanger was cool, and I don't really care for the art. So I'm going to give the writing on this a 7 out of 10, and I'm going to give the art on this a 6 out of 10. It's just all right. But this cover art is super sweet, and I have this as a poster. So maybe I'll put that up, maybe not, because I didn't like the book. All right, next up is New Avengers #20. This is written by Jonathan Hickman, and the art on this is absolutely fantastic. This is by Valerio Schiti. This is a PG programming, so however you want to say that. This is New Avengers #20, and we finally have the New Avengers. Well, it's not the New Avengers. It's the Illuminati. This book should be called the Illuminati #20. So we have the Illuminati, and they're fighting the Great Society, who is basically the Justice League in a Marvel comic. There's even a green alien. There's the sun god who has all of Superman's powers. There's a guy that's named Wayne that looks just like Batman. He's wearing all black. Anyway. So we have the Illuminati versus the Justice League in this book. Jonathan Hickman has been teasing us for like 2 months about these two teams fighting, and finally we get some fighting. And as this fighting is going on, we are getting a Stephen Strange or Doctor Strange background story that's weaving in and out of this book, and this book has been up and down and up and down, and finally we're getting some payoff. The art on this is fantastic, the storytelling is fantastic, the cliffhanger is great, and it all just wove together really nice. So I'm gonna give the writing on New Avengers a 9 out of 10, and I'm gonna give the art on New Avengers an 8.5 out of 10. There were some great splash pages, some, like I said, awesome fight scenes. There's not too much to say except that two of the teams fight, and at the end of this book, one of the team gets an advantage. Anyway, I think I might have liked it just because I might have liked it more than I should have, just because we're finally getting a payoff to some of these stories. But it's New Avengers #20. All right, and next we have Guardians of the Galaxy #16. Now this is still some of the same crap. Well, I don't want to say crap. Some of the same stuff we've been getting for the last few weeks, where every 2 pages we go to a different character that's kidnapped by somebody else. And finally, I think we're going to get out of that slow zone of the story. We have the Drax with the Gladiator, and the Gladiator is putting him on trial. It's like reading I have the Trials of Jean Grey inside of my Guardians of the Galaxy comic book for like 4 pages. Anyway, Drax challenges the Gladiator to fight to the death for his freedom. Gladiator accepts. That happens in here. We have Venom, who is taken by the Skrulls, and Flash Thompson is they're trying to take a symbiote and put it on themselves, and that doesn't work out for them. Flash Thompson gets it back and is gonna go hammer time. Then we have really what this whole thing is about is we have Peter Quill, who goes and confronts Jason, his father, who's the king of the Spartax, and Captain Marvel shows up to help him. So last issue, Captain Marvel's on the cover and she didn't show up. This issue, Star-Lord's on the cover and Captain Marvel finally shows up. So Carol helps Star-Lord escape from his father, and Star-Lord has this conversation with his father, and his dad doesn't know that there's like cameras that are broadcasting all around his planet, broadcasting live their conversation, and he tells Peter Quill that he wished he would have died when he was a baby, and Peter Quill decides to not kill him because he has the opportunity to, and leaves so that his people that he rules over knows he's a terrible person, and they all want to kill the Emperor at the end of this book. So we got Drax on trial. We have Gamora being saved by Angela. We're moving along, and hopefully in the next 2 issues, they're all back together. Hopefully the next issue, Peter Quill goes around, saves them all, and then 2 issues from now, they're all together on a new story arc. Because this book by Brian Michael Bendis is starting to tread water a little bit. It's really treading in quicksand. It's not moving. Ever since Angela joined this book, not much has happened. So anyway, I'm going to give the writing on this book a 6.5 out of 10, and I'm gonna give the art a 7 out of 10. And the scenes with Peter Quill and his father towards the end are really awesome. But I think the problem is there's three artists on this book. There's Nick Bradshaw, David Marquez, and Jason Masters, and you could see that the art changes, and I hate that in a book so much. Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy number 16. All right, and the last Marvel book of the day is Uncanny Avengers number 21. This is written by Rick Remender, who did Deadly Class, my 10 out of 10 book this week, with art by Daniel Acuna. Now, Daniel Acuna has been doing this for a while, and he really killed it on this cover. I can point over here. I really like this cover. It's something about this art style has really grown on me by Daniel Acuna. When he first jumped on this book, I was kind of not digging it, but I'm totally a Daniel Acuna fan now. And the coloring on this, which I don't speak of too much, is Dean White. And I just want to say that because Dean White lives kind of by where I am, and I've met him before at comic book stores. Like, I've run into him, and he's done signings, and he's sorry, my watch going off. He's done signings and sold prints and stuff like that, and he's just a really cool guy. So shout out to Dean White. Anyway, so in this, I've been saying it for months now that the storyline where all the mutants get raptured has got to be taken back. They gotta rewind. Rick Remender's got to be able to come back and take all that away, and he basically starts that in this book. The Uncanny Avengers, the Unity Squad, they finally get sent back in the past by Kang the Conqueror. And to a point where they can save the rapture from happening and save Scarlet Witch's life and stop Wolverine from getting tortured and all that stuff. So they go back in time, they find Scarlet Witch, they go around and find all the different groups that are working together. They find like Iron Man, who's running a team that's trying to kill the Celestial, and they go around basically because they had their consciousness sent back, not their physical bodies. So their consciousness, Days of Future Past style, was sent back in time to an earlier time period, and they go around and like fix all the things that happened wrong. That's what happens in this, and everything gets cleaned up pretty good, except for you knew that Kang the Conqueror had a plan this whole time. He wasn't just helping them to help them, and he wasn't just helping Earth be saved because he wants to be a nice guy. He's doing it so that he can conquer the world. He's Kang the Conqueror, like... Anyway, they had to trust him because it was the only way they can go back and save their planet. But they should have been a little more weary when they came back of like trying to find the guy. But anyway, by the end of this book, Kang makes his presence known, like, ha, thanks for helping me, now you're screwed. So it happens in Uncanny Avengers number 21. I feel like I'm scoring so many books high this week, but Rick Remender, apparently when he wrote this in Deadly Class, was on a good one. I'm going to give Uncanny Avengers number 21 an 8.5 out of 10, and I'm going to give the art a 9 out of 10. Daniel Acuna, pretty dang good. All right, that's my last book from Marvel. Now let's jump into DC Comics. And the first comic from DC I'm going to review really quick is Sinestro number 3. This is written by Cullen Bunn with art by Dale Eagleson. Each time I read this, I don't like the art in this book, but I really like the writing. So when I was reading this, which was about 4 hours ago, I was like 3 or 4 pages in thinking to myself, why have I not dropped this title? Like, the art's terrible, and I don't care about the Sinestro Corp and they're like, I don't care about Sinestro's whole mission to save his race. Like, the Kurragans, like, I don't care about them. And then by the end of this book, I'm like, damn, this is really good writing by Cullen Bunn. And I'm like, I'm going to buy the next issue. Like, anyway, I wish I could almost just read the text because I don't care for the art. But this is some good storytelling. This is a $2.99 book because, well, Sinestro's not a huge character and they're trying to sell some copies. But in this issue, he just goes around trying to save his race. And at the end, he gets confronted by these, like, they're almost religious type people where they like the Pale Bishops congregation. They want to make everyone pure, and the Sinestro Corp is high on their list. I don't know. There's a threat to the Sinestro Corp. I'm gonna give the writing on this book a 7 out of 10, and I'm gonna give the art on this book a 5 out of 10. I hate the art so much. I hate using the word hate, but I severely dislike it. It's just not good. Anyway, that's what's up with this. Oh, and at the back of every DC book is Grayson preview for Grayson number 1 preview. They're really hoping Grayson sells. I don't get why he's blonde. Anyway, that's Sinestro number 3. All right, next up is the long-awaited, let me open this up, Superman number 32. This is the front and back cover. This is written by Geoff Johns with art by John Romita Jr. They've been trying to get John Romita Jr. in DC for decades. I think 2 decades now. He's worked for Marvel and stuff. And anyway, he's on the Superman book with Geoff Johns, their premier writer. I had the opportunity, my comic book shop pulled for me the Bombshell cover, but it's pretty historic that John Romita Jr. is in DC, so I had to get the John Romita Jr. cover. It's really good. Anyway, one thing that hurt this book a little for me is this book, kind of like Grayson, has been previewed in the back of all of DC's main titles for, I feel like, a few months now. And the first like, there's a section of this book where there's like a good 5-page section that I've read before, and there's not a lot of dialogue in this book. This is mostly the plot of the story is done through art with very little dialogue. And what really happens is this issue is called Ulysses, and that is because we have a new character that has joined the New 52, and his name's Ulysses, and he's from another dimension, and his parents send him cross-dimensional to their 4th dimension, which is our dimension, and he is the last savior of Earth from his dimension. So Superman was the last son of Krypton, and now this Ulysses is the last son of Earth from his dimension, and he's kind of got Superman-ish strength. We don't know all of his powers yet, but he enters into this book. That's really what this issue was about and for. In the middle of that, we find Clark Kent realizing that he is kind of a lonely person. He calls Diana, and he tries calling Batman, but Alfred answers. Batman's not there, of course, so he doesn't leave a message for him, and he's like cooking food for himself. He's reminiscing like through a photo album. All of a sudden he hears people needing help, and that's when he goes. He fights this thing he's never met before that's speaking like an alien language, and Ulysses shows up to save the day and save Superman. That's what happens in this. So Geoff Johns, good writer, really let John Romita Jr. shine in this book. A lot of guys don't like John Romita Jr. because he's just like the old school superhero artist where everything's big and faces are square and blocky. But from reading New Age comics lately, I kind of like it. I really enjoy the art style on this, and it pretty much follows the cover art. I don't know. I liked it. Now, there wasn't much to it, so hopefully this run gets better, but DC did it. They got John Romita Jr., they got Geoff Johns on Superman, and look at me, I'm holding a Superman book, which haven't done in years. I haven't bought a new Superman title. So, anyway, I'll give the writing on this a 7.5, and I'll give the art on this an 8 out of 10. Superman number 32. Oh, sorry, let me backtrack a little. If you want to read Superman and you want to buy a Superman book, you should get Superman number 32 here. This is basically a #1 issue, and this is the start of a new creative team and a new story. And yeah, so buy Superman number 32. It's basically a #1. They're just not like Marvel, where they do all new Marvel Nows and they restart them every 25 issues. All right, and the last book I'm going to review this week is Batman Eternal, number 12. Finally, oh my gosh, this should have been issue number 5. We finally get a Batman story that moves crap along and is actually good. And the reason is probably it's written by James Tynion IV and not Tim Seeley or John Layman or some of these other hoodlums that are killing me with their art, with their writing style. So this is written by James Tynion IV, and the art is by Michael Janin. And you know what? I really liked Batman Eternal number 12. You know what this felt like? This felt like an actual Batman comic, because the last few issues have felt like almost free comic book day quality, and this just makes me really happy because it feels worth my $2.99. In this is so much to do with Jim Gordon finally going to his trial, which I've been complaining about. Like, dude, that's the most important part of this book, is Jim Gordon maybe going to jail forever, or what the mystery is about that. Like, that is so important, and we're finally getting that. We get Jason Bard, who is going to Batman for help. Yes, finally. That's the whole point of this, was to introduce a new police officer that's like Jim Gordon Jr. basically. So we got Jason Bard finally working with Batman in this book. We get some nice Red Robin stuff where he goes to Alfred for help, and Alfred's daughter's there, and Alfred's daughter is gonna follow Red Robin into the Batcave. Didn't happen in this issue, but she's going to, and she's gonna figure it out. Yeah, so there isn't too much more than that. These books are weekly and they're not very long, and I pretty much said all I could say without giving the story away. So I'm gonna give the writing on Batman Eternal number 12. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 8 point. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Now that's not extremely high for a book, but for Batman Eternal, that is extremely high for me. And I'm gonna give the art a 7.5 out of 10. The art didn't wow me, but it's such an improvement from previous issues, and the artist didn't have too much to draw here. There's not really too many fight scenes. I think there's just one, and the rest of this book is dialogue. So there's actually one page of fighting, which is Red Robin and Pig. The rest of this book is all dialogue and plot driven, which I thoroughly enjoy, because we read this to follow a story, and Batman Eternal is finally back on track with doing that. And huge kudos to James Tynion IV. You might have saved me from dropping this title. So that was Batman Eternal. Anyways, everybody, that's all the comics I'm going to review today. That was 10 issues. If there are any books that I didn't read that I should have this week, leave a comment down below. And What else? Oh, check out our website. It's #nerdswag.com. You can find that down in the description. You can also find like our Twitter, our Instagram, all that business. Also a Patreon link. So what Patreon is like kind of, it's like a website where you can go and support people. So we have a profile on Patreon, and what you can do is you can go and donate like $1 a month, and that helps with our costs for our YouTube channel, for like maybe buying more comics every week based on your suggestions, increasing our production or the amount of videos we do. So yeah, if you just donate $2 a month, I will give you a free shout out, or I'll give you a shout out on all my videos, and I will shout out like links to your pages, and I will send you a free like Nerd Swag gift to your address if you don't mind giving me your address, and just like a thank you note, stuff like that. By doing that, I'll be able to review even more comics. I wish I could review like 15-20 comics a week, but as you guys know, they're expensive, and this adds up to, I don't know, hundreds of dollars a month. So if I get support from you guys, that'd be super cool. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna buy and review comics no matter what anyway. It's just support would help me do even more comics. And anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week. Same Nerd Swag time, same Nerd Swag channel.